Good evening, guys, and thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel once again to listen to the presentation that I'm going to give on Black Tribalism Part 2. Now, in response to some of the responses that I got in regards to Part 1, I'm kind of not really overtly surprised in some of the negative responses that I got, because it's such a powerful subject and it's a subject that's never really been explored before in terms of black politics and black UK politics. Some of the responses that I got from Part 1 were more negative than positive. As I say, I'm not really too surprised about that, because as I say, it's a serious subject. And what I will say is, I just think that, you know, people need to sort of refer to that video again and refer to the section where I said, you know, black politics is not something that everybody can engage with. You have to have a certain mind frame, and you have to be able to applicate your critical thinking skills to the point where, you know, as I said, you have to applicate your critical thinking skills to the point where no one didn't realise that there was an issue until you pointed out the issue, until you hypothesised on the issue and made everybody aware that there was an issue to begin with. As I said in previous videos, I'm not the type of person that likes to sit down and dwell on criticism, but I think that when it comes to serious subjects such as this, I think that it's important that I give people feedback for previous videos on such controversial topics. Now, some of the feedback that I got via phone calls, via text messages, via DMs, DMs on Twitter, I also got about 24 emails on the matter as well. Very disappointing responses, very disappointing, and I just think that a lot of the responses, well, not even that I think, a lot of the responses were light-skinned supremacy responses from light-skinned people in the black community, and dark-skinned supremacy responses from black people in the black community. And I just think that, you know, it's a very difficult subject to sort of hypothesize on. I haven't written down any notes for this. I've just come and I'm just freebasing out my mind. It's deep-rooted. Light-skinned versus dark-skinned is a deep-rooted problem in the black community, and it's been around for at least 250 years now. It was going on during slavery, and it's been going on after slavery, and it's pulling us apart. And as I said in the previous video about some of the tribalistic actions that are going on in the continent of Africa, Africans tend to act that way naturally. Nigerians don't like Somalians, Somalians don't like Nigerians, Somalians don't like Sudanese, Sudanese don't like Somalians, you know, Sudanese don't like Chadians, Chadians don't like, etc, etc. All those different tribes, all those different borders in the continent of Africa is to do with tribalism. And when European colonizers came and colonized the place and put all those borders up. So that's just the idea of tribalism in Africa. But as I say, and as I said in journal bodies that I've been writing up, when Africans were taken to the Caribbean, you know, we were re-tribalized again as Afro-Caribbeans. And when the United Kingdom, Black UK, when the United Kingdom governmental bodies started bombarding those societies with messages of integration in the 50s, 40s and 60s during the Industrial Revolution, we became re-tribalized again as Afro-Saxons. And the reason why I say Afro-Saxons is because a lot of us act like Anglo-Saxons. We know we've adopted their character traits, we've adopted their norms, we've adopted their customs, we've adopted all sorts of things from this new idea of tribalism. And as I said in a journal that I wrote up, tribalism also exists within other races as well. Spanish don't like Portuguese, Portuguese don't like Spanish, Germans don't like Russians, Russians don't like Germans, Chinese don't like Japanese, North Korea don't like South Korea, South Korea don't. It's all across the board, but it would be very stupid for me to start hypothesizing on other races' issues, whether it's to do with tribalism or anything else. You know, when the African Caribbean community, black people were the worst off in terms of economics, politics, social unity, and just everything in every area of human activity under the social stratosphere, black people are lacking. So it would be we're at the bottom of the pile, so it would be very, very unprofessional of me to start hypothesizing on issues to do with other races. It's also understood that it doesn't matter what race or group of mankind you're talking about, they don't like to be told about themselves. Nazi Germans don't like to be told about themselves and their ancestors when it comes to the Jewish Holocaust. Arabs don't like to be told about themselves during the Arab slave trade and their ancestors. Europeans, Caucasians don't like to be told about themselves when it comes to slavery and transatlantic slave trade. And it's the same with black people. You know, I know I'm going to offend a few people as I say that. It's the same thing with black people. We don't like to be told about ourselves because black self-accountability is almost non-existent. It's almost non-existent when you talk to black people and when you hypothesize to black people about black issues. It's like 70% of us are just not ready to deal with it. We're not ready to deal with it, and I think that's down to grassroots level, being brought up and how we've been socialized in the community. A lot of us are just attracted to dysfunction. A lot of us are just attracted to everything that seems to be backwards. And because a lot of us never had the masculine principle in the home, that is the father, a lot of us, all we had was the feminine principle, that is our mothers, our aunties, our grandparents, our big sisters. Because that masculine principle wasn't there, I think that a lot of people sort of get the swords and shields out when it comes to black masculinity, especially when it's a black man such as myself, a masculine black man such as myself, hypothesizing on serious issues. You know, black males and black females tend to bring the swords out. And somebody else was telling me that, you know, it is, I think that's one of the reasons why my information is not being taken seriously, is due to the part that I am light-skinned. You know, if I look like rapper Rick Ross, you know, yeah, Rick Ross, if I look like Rick Ross or somebody like this, somebody really savage looking, you know, tattoos all over the goddamn place, you know, I've got a few tattoos, but I can get away with my tattoos, they're not dysfunctional. If I look like somebody like that, somebody that looks like a real savage, then maybe my information would be taken very, very seriously. If I was dark-skinned as well, maybe my information would be taken seriously more than what is being taken. And I'm not going to keep this video too long. I quickly pulled everybody up that was expecting me to do the video down at a centre. I made a quick mistake. I made a little mistake in the last video when I said I was going to be recording it down at a centre. The next title that I'm going to be doing, which is Black Names and Does It Cause Marginalisation, that is a video that I'm going to be recording down at a centre. And I'm really, really hoping that all you guys that are tuned into my YouTube channel or not will tune in and watch that video as well, because it's very, very serious information that's relevant to the black community in 2014. It needs to be hypothesized on, it needs to be put out there, it needs to be spoke about, it needs to be think tanked around. I'm not scratching my own trumpet as I say this as well. I said this in the last video and I actually agreed with the person that said it. The information that I'm coming with is very, very fresh information, it's new information. It's never been seen before, it's not copied. All you have to do is check me out on Twitter, all you have to do is check me out on my email account, see what's on my email page, check me out on Facebook, check out my Facebook public page, and you'll see the information. You know, it's just very, very disappointing that people are sort of trying to compare me to other scholars, not even scholars in this country. People are trying to compare me and say that my work's not authentic. People are trying to compare me to Dr. Umar Abdullah-Johnson. People are trying to compare me to Dr. Claude Anderson. People are trying to compare me to Dr. Amos Wilson. People are trying to compare me to 5723 Michael David Carroll. People are trying to compare me to Tommy Sotomayor. Look at their work. If those are names that I've just mentioned, you know, if you look at their work and you look at my work, you'll see that there's absolutely nothing in common with me and those guys there. In spite of the fact that each and every one of those guys there that people have compared me to, I do actually listen to those guys, and those guys are very, very relevant in some of the subjects that they're speaking around and hypothesizing around. As I say, I'm not going to keep this video too long. Please stay tuned to the videos that I'm going to be having coming out. This is the second video of 7. The next video release is going to be on the 27th of November. My schedule is very laden at the moment. I'm about to give a presentation at a mosque, another mosque at a centre. I'm all over the place at the moment because I'm very high in demand, because, as I say, people in educationary fields, and I'm not the first person to sort of say, well, because Professor such and such is asking me to do such and such, it sort of makes me right or validates my position. As I said in a previous video, I don't necessarily look at contemporary European UK education as the be and end all of everything. I.e., what I mean is, if a professor is telling me that I'm right and he wants me to come and that makes me, no, it doesn't make me right, because I'm the type of person, I do my own research, I do my own education. I prefer not to be validated by outside educational resources, because outside educational resources do not teach things like light-skinned and dark-skinned and black tribalism and interracial relationships and integration. Those are some of the subjects that are on this very YouTube channel that you can look at. So just due to the fact that European institutions don't teach those things, you know, it goes back to what I said before. I'm not necessarily looking for validation from these bodies. And I think that I'll wrap this one up. Thanks again for listening to this video. Black Tribalism Part 2, Light Skin versus Dark Skinned. And you can catch me here and other places very soon, hypothesizing on serious issues to do with the black community in 2014. Thank you for listening.